Welcome to the LOTD Pod, episode 90, the Left of the Dial podcast, along with Richard. I'm Flick. How are you doing this week, Richard?
I'm hanging in there, buddy. How are things in Iowa?
Hot, very hot. And we're on a holiday weekend, wrapping up a holiday weekend. And did you do anything fun?
Um, did I cry into a glass and then drink the tears? What? Did I do anything fun?
It's a Fourth of July tradition.
It is, yeah, it is, yeah. Got out of town for a few days with my wife and the fam, and played bocce in nature, and jammed
As
on
it
some
should be done.
ukulele.
There you go.
So that's a high octane weekend for me. I'm a pretty easily satisfied person like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't sound too bad. Hot all over the country, hot here in Iowa, and like not really the kind of weather that I'm very fond of. So I didn't do a whole lot myself.
Well, you're always invited to my place, Flick. It's foggy and cool in California.
Yeah, someday soon.
Someday soon, buddy.
Yeah. But it is the midway point of the year 2021, and so with that, we will be looking back at what our favorite music so far of the 2021 year has been. Looking at your playlist, the title of your playlist doesn't sound like 2021 has been your favorite year.
I'm having, I wouldn't exactly phrase it like that. 2021, obviously ups and downs. We're emerging from pandemic, but I also lost my mom to it. But in terms of music, okay, let's keep it to music. I think I have lots of optimism. My concert ticket drawer was empty for so long, and now I've got like this whole, my daily itinerary note card filled with like all these bullet points of like, oh, like, are we going to go see Madhu Mokhtar at, one of two places? And should we go camping and see Kikugoyo Moyo at a weird campground in Big Sur? Like, I don't know. I mean, so yeah, things are starting again, and seeing music is now a thing that we can conceivably do. So I'm really excited about that. In terms of new music, I haven't really found an album yet this year that I can just really jam on, except for a few. And so that's why, looking at these Spotify playlists, like, Sean, you're totally my hero. You're always uncovering cool stuff. So um, that being said, could you tell our listeners how to find our playlists?
Yeah, and to give you an idea of what Richard's playlist is titled, it's Tepid 21. So that was my
It's
cue.
not quite the Roaring 20s yet, but it's
No.
just around the corner.
And you can find Tepid 21 along with my playlist 2021 so far. Not the most creatively titled playlist, but 2021 so far, Flick's Faves, and Tepid 21, Richard's LOTD pod, missing the end of it, 2021 picks. You can find them on our Spotify profile page, LOTD pod. So if you go to Spotify and search LOTD pod, and by the way, not all one word, LOTD and then pod. You can find our podcast there if you don't already listen to us on Spotify, and you can find our playlists on our Spotify page.
Right.
And okay, so what we will do, we both have albums, some albums, I think me more than Richard have albums that we want to talk about. And then I think we should kick it off with songs. So Not necessarily singles, but just songs that are on albums. Some are singles, some are album tracks, but maybe they're albums that we didn't really feel like made it, as an album on our albums list, but definitely good enough songs to be talking about.
Yeah, yeah, good point, good point.
Yeah, so I have a lot of those. I don't know how many you have, Richard, but I could probably break mine up, um, and just kick that off.
Well, I'd like to start with, as usual, saying something really controversial.
Okay,
Are you
get
ready?
our weekly hot take.
The chat is just silent in anticipation. Um,
Gasping for.
I know, yeah. Hang on there, chat room. Uh, yeah, I started my playlist with I think which is with one of my, if not the favorite song released this year, which is a standalone 12-inch single. It's called "I Am the Shaman" by Donovan. And Donovan, you may think like, oh, like the mellow yellow guy. Well, as I frequently harangue people with this subject, I'm sure maybe you've heard it before, but
Which, by the way, Mellow Yellow is a fine song.
Mellow Yellow, awesome song. Atlantis, awesome song.
Yep,
Hurdy Gurdy Man, great song. But
great song.
you know, beyond the top 10 hits, uh, that
Chase the Wind is a great song too.
yeah, oh wow, yeah, of course. Beyond the singles and beyond the 60s and 70s, Donovan remains an interesting guy, and maybe hasn't put out as many timeless classics, but still, you know, he's got deep cuts. And if you like, you know, if you like Hurdy Gurdy Man, like you got to hear Roots of Oak. And I also have kind of a different relationship with Donovan too, in my kind of toe in the water explorations of transcendental meditation, um, of which he is one of the main spokesmen along with David Lynch. And it seems like kind of
And
a fun, odd
and the
best
Beatles.
friendship. Well, yeah, yeah, but no. But yeah,
Okay.
it's cool that the two main spokesmen for TM in the United States are Donovan and David Lynch, and so they travel together, give lectures, appear on internet live casts and such. And I mention this not only because it's interesting that Donovan and David Lynch like go camping together or whatever and meditate, but David Lynch is also a musician as well as a film director and lends his own uh, very distinct touch to his music and others. And he produced this single, which you can definitely hear with the backwards reverb effect on the creepy chorus. And yeah, so check out this single. I haven't really been grabbed by a lot of things this year, but I've listened to the single a bunch of times. And it's one of those songs where um, I think I heard it kind of late in the evening one day, and then while my house was kind of waking up and having coffee, I don't think the sun was even out yet. I was like, oh, well, we got to listen to this Donovan single and music video. Uh, and it's pretty rare that a song is like, really makes you not only grabs your attention, but compels you to just share it with everybody.
Do they spend a lot of time in Fairfield?
Yes, as
Okay.
yeah, the hub.
For those who don't know, the reason why I mentioned Fairfield is Fairfield, Iowa, is I don't know, somehow it became like the epicenter for that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
the don't know the story.
yeah, I don't exactly know the story, but yeah, the Maharishi ended up there and set up the school, the main school. So yeah.
And if you know where it is on the map, like it just really is kind of in the middle of, it's not near any of the bigger, like Iowa doesn't really have big cities or anything like that, but it's not near any of the cities. It's just kind of out there.
Yeah, it's cool because so much. revitalization of the town. Like many towns in Iowa, I'm not sure what the particular deal is with Fairfield, but pretty much like every town of that size, like an Ottumwa and Allwine used to have like the one or two like big factories or big industries, and then they all closed down in I think the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And a lot of the towns just, I mean, it's sad that there are these beautiful little Iowa towns that are now just like rotten because the powers that be were like, oh, let's make a cheap buck and bring in Walmart and all that crap, and then all the stores in the main street are all boarded up, but not in Fairfield. A whole lot of money in Fairfield, as Greg Brown once said.
Never been.
Check it out.
Okay, so like I said, I have a lot on my list, so I should probably break up some of the songs here. To begin with, I have a couple of covers. Like I'm not big on throwing on covers. There are so many covers these days, and I love covers. Like you won't really find a bigger purveyor of covers than me. But at the same time, like we've reached a saturation point with covers these days, and it just most like it this isn't really anything new, but most covers are not that interesting, and I search high and low to try and find the ones that are because that's rewarding when you do come across a cover that somebody put some thought into. Somebody came up with their own arrangement, um, made the song their own, and that's what I'm looking for. And I, if it rises to that level, I think it's worth putting on my list of new songs. And the two that are the standout covers for me this year. I don't know what the story is on this, but a lot of covers have come out recently of the Metallica song "Sad but True." The one that I think is particularly interesting is the Jason Isbell and 400 unit version. Very different arrangement. It definitely sounds more like a Jason Isbell song than a Metallica song, and very new. I think it just came out last week, but or yeah, just actually a few days ago it came out.
I think there's
Um,
like a tribute album or something. I think there's a St. Vincent track on.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think they're all out yet. The St. Vincent track came out on the same day as the Jason Isbell one, and those were the only two that I could find. Um, and I think maybe there was a Miley Cyrus one
All right.
from a week before. I'm not sure, but anyway, the Jason Isbell one is really good. The St. Vincent one was good too, but not enough to make my list.
This is probably the only way I'm going to listen to Metallica. So it's
You're not. I don't think you're wrong. The you know, do you get more opportunities to see them where you live?
yeah. I mean, they're originally from Oakland and the Peninsula, so they're local guys.
Yeah. Do they ever do like club shows or anything like that? Just pop up club shows?
Yeah, they do. Like if you're in the know or in their secret fan club or something, they play shows at the Fillmore, which is pretty legendary venue out here. Wonderful place to see a show in San Francisco. But yeah, not that big. I'd say capacity of the Fillmore is like a couple thousand people if you cram it.
Right.
But yeah, beautiful chandeliers and old school Bill Graham magic in there. So yeah, they play shows there. And I think they do good deeds. But there's a little bit of once you get down to South Bay, there's that thing you get outside of a lot of like hippie liberal cities where occasionally you'll see a pickup truck going by with like an enormous American flag, and you're like, oh, if I were to talk to that guy, I might get punched in the face. Like, there's the towny kind of vibe, and I always get like a little whiff of like conservative towny stuff with Metallica, but from what I understand, they have some cool albums. I've just never been that angry that I need to like listen to them. So
Sure. All right. Well, my the other cover that's on my list is what I think is probably my favorite David Bowie cover of all time, and that is "Ashes to Ashes" by the Boise cover band, which is Doug March. I don't know if it's just Built to Spill under a different name, but Doug March is the guy behind this, and just an absolute great cover of "Ashes to
it's
Ashes."
so
Just
pretty. Yeah.
yeah. Not a lot of David Bowie covers I'm all that big on, but this is definitely one. This is a great one.
You know why?
Well, I kind of have an idea, but what are you going for?
If I were to speculate, it's because Bowie was so good. Like, why? Why? You know, it's just
Well, not
uh,
just Bowie though, but you take all of the great people that he collaborated with, and of course I'm alluding to Mick Ronson especially. You take them out of the mix too. But yeah, I mean, David Bowie was very distinctive. Often got it right, on his try. So reworking a David Bowie arrangement isn't always the best way to go.
yeah. And I think a cover song, you know, as a sometimes serious musician, it's really tricky, you know. And I think that the real secret is what we're hearing in this Ashes to Ashes cover is that, the Boise cover band Doug Marsh and pals are bringing something new to their interpretation of the song. It's really
Yeah,
pretty, really gorgeous song.
yeah, it's a great arrangement of it. Then moving on to, I guess I have 20 more tracks on my list. And some of them, are on albums that are great. Those are I'll get to those later. But we're gonna go through. And let me know when a good time for you to break this up would be. But I'm just gonna launch into it. Silver Synthetic, a band from New Orleans, NOLA. They put out an EP last year, and then this year, I guess you can call this a full length album. It's 8 tracks and it's about 33 minutes, so it's kind of an EP deluxe. Um, so they still haven't put out a lengthy album, and then you have at least one track that was on the EP from last year on the 8 tracks this year.
I really like this tune. I didn't get all the way down to it, but yeah, this is really kind of that it's that Elephant Six vibe that I just gets me every time. Really cool track.
Yeah, yeah, and Silver Synthetic. I don't even know if I've named them yet. Silver Synthetic is the band. The track that I went with here is in the beginning. All 8 tracks are really good. It's all very it's very traditional like rock. There's some Beatlesque things. There's a lot of garagey things. Um, really good tracks. All 8 of them, and I think 4 on the EP that they put out last year, although at least one of them is the same. Definitely worth checking out. From there, a Chicago band. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to listen to this whole album yet. I've only heard the one track. I will be getting to the full album, but the band is Rat Boys from Chicago. The track is "Go Outside," very much like a you know it sounds just like a really old country song. It's a really cool track. The album is "Happy Birthday, Rat Boy."
I love this song. This is so cool. And I love that you know, I, I hear that there's like a band called Rat Boys. I 100% would not expect them to sound like this at all. Like they're
Yeah,
from
I mean
Bakersfield or something.
for one thing, the main vocalist is a female, so the name's a little bit misleading that way. But also, Rat Boys doesn't really make you think like nice, sounding country. But it is, and yeah, it's an album I unfortunately haven't gotten around to yet, but I've been listening to this track a while, and we'll get around to the album. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens, by the end of the year.
Yeah, because it's not a LOTD left of the dial podcast without me having to like splurge on some records that I haven't already listened to. So this is really cool, and yeah, I'm a sucker for pedal steel any day,
Oh
all day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so Damien Jurado, the new album from him is called "The Monster Who Hated Pennsylvania."
Oh,
And,
that's such a great album title.
yeah, it is. I kind of thought it was a so-so album, but the song "Tom," I really love the song, and definitely had to include that. It's an all right album. If you like him, I'm sure you'll like this. Faye Webster, who is from Atlanta, her album is called "I Know I'm Funny, Haha." The track that I am, really love is called "Cheers." That makes my list. Steve Almus, who outside of Minnesota, maybe you don't know him, but kind of a Minnesota. Well, I would say definitely a Minnesota music legend. He fronted the band Suicide Commandos, who
Aha. Oh yeah.
were Minnesota punk in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and I would say without them, you don't have like your replacements, your Husker Du. Um, but yeah, I mean, sounding very different these days. This is a very countryish track called "Goodbye Nicolina" from the album "Everywhere You've Been." Uh, Features Gary Louris of the Jayhawks on guitar and
Oh
vocals,
wow.
and
Okay.
I'm always a sucker for whatever he does. But great track, really good album. This is a very good album. Didn't quite make my albums list, but very good. Let's see. Uh, Number 15 on my list. Collaboration that I don't know. There isn't an album yet, but I don't know if one is forthcoming. But Sharon Van Etten and Angel Olsen collaborating, I would think would be a really cool album. We'll see what happens with that. But for now, we have one track called "Like I Used to," and it's very good.
I love it. Yeah, and yeah, like we were talking about at the top of the show, I think there are so many good albums out there. We're just hearing the singles right now, because everyone's like, we don't know how long this quarantine and lockdown is going to last, and so I think they've been kind of. I think a lot of people have finished albums that they've just been kind of sleeping on because they don't know when they'd be able to go out and promote them.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess I was expecting the floodgates to open, and maybe it hasn't happened yet. But I'm sure at some point there is going to be that happening.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a discussion about this earlier on the Lana Del Rey album "Chemtrails Over the Country Club,"
Right. Right. Yeah.
um, and I included the title track on my list. Lana Del Rey, as we talked about, like I haven't had the easiest time connecting with it, but have thought that she's really really good, but have had a little bit of trouble connecting with her.
Yeah,
In
yeah, yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. I forget which show that was, but I do like this album, and not enough to listen to it a lot or own it, but yeah, I put what's the track? Tulsa Jesus Freak on my list, but I definitely respect her as an artist, and like that she is releasing 1 or 2 albums a year sometimes and has a new single out too, which I didn't
Yeah,
include because I haven't really got my mind, you know, uh,
and
figured out yet.
some interesting new information has come across to me.
From the telex, you're getting a fax?
Yeah, well, not that recent, but
Urgent pop music facts.
but like in the last in recent months,
Okay,
I found out something that makes her more relatable to me. She is a Liverpool football supporter,
What?
so
Yeah.
there you go.
She's alright
So
then, yeah.
yeah, so Lana Del Rey, YNWA.
That's right.
Um, okay, next on my list, and speaking of Liverpool, um, have a Scouser here on the list. Jane Weaver, formerly of the band Killora, and Heartlow is the name of the song. Really, really cool song. And a good album. Another good album. I forget what the name of it is now, but didn't quite make my albums list. Sleater-Kinney, High in the Grass. The song made my list from Path of Wellness. Sleater-Kinney now without Janet Weiss, which hurts.
J-Dub.
But I don't. So as far as the album Path of Wellness goes, I think it was a so-so album. It had some good songs on it, and of course, High in the Grass is one that I like quite a bit and made my list. But as an and I don't say this is because of the absence of Janet Weiss, although it could help. But yeah, just kind of a so-so record at the end of the day.
I've got into my recording studio, the Mercury Capsule recording studio here in Oakland, early because I wanted to listen through all your tracks because I don't know if our listeners hear this enough, but you've got really great taste and you're always turning me on to great music. So
Thank you.
definitely went through this list and was trying to get through to the end of it, didn't make it, but um I think High in the Grass is the only track where I'm just like, I think I have a kind of like what you used to have with Lana Del Rey before you guys bonded over football. Uh, I think I have that problem now with Sleater-Kinney, where I just don't believe him anymore. And I think part of it is maybe I've grown out of the band, or maybe I think I know that a big part of it is how like unfunny I thought Portlandia was. And so it's
Oh,
hard for
well,
me to like,
hard.
as someone that spent almost a decade in Portland, it's like, oh, you're making like really easy, like chuckle worthy, like SNL grade jokes about Portland. Kind of
I
too easy for this guy.
strong strong disagreement on that. I like Portlandia a lot, although it probably its run was probably too long. But
Yeah, I think it
but
could
I,
have
I
been
did.
like I don't know, like a 6-minute YouTube thing instead of like
Well,
multi
I'm
series.
in no way am I saying that, but I would say it probably went on 2 or 3 seasons too long.
So now when I hear Sleater-Kinney, they had, I think there was that one song from last album, like, No Cities Left to Love or something like that. Um, like any like angsty stuff, I'm just like, I don't believe you anymore because, I just don't believe it. And I think the too many choruses in this track. So I hate to be a hater, but we'll leave it at that.
I like it quite a bit, and
I'm
I
glad you
like
do. I'm glad you're
yeah,
happy.
and I'm still a sucker for, you know, like like I said, the absence of Janet Weiss is a tough one for me, but I'm still a sucker for Corinne Tucker's vocals.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, so interesting, and I loved every time that I got to see them live, which was I don't know, like 3, 4 times. But I think that bring it back to Donovan, like I always believe Donovan when he's talking, even when he's talking, especially when he's talking about like, very like hippy dippy things. But when people sometimes when I hear bands consisting of people over like the age of 35 talking about really angsty things, I just don't. I'm like, I'm having a hard time believing you.
See, it would have been interesting. I think our first episode ever, which was before you were on the podcast, was when I don't remember the last Sleater-Kinney album before this, what it was called, but their collaboration with St. Vincent, and we had a discussion about that. Which normally, I don't spend too much time talking about the albums that I don't enjoy because I feel like it's kind of hard to be an expert on something when it's when you don't really like it, but there was enough there that it had to be discussed, and I didn't really like that album, so it would have been interesting to hear what you had to say about that one. I don't know
Yeah,
if you ever listened to
and
it.
yeah, exactly. Like, there's so much good music, and even with bands like Sleater-Kinney that where I don't like this track and maybe don't follow them anymore. I have so much respect for that band, and look back with fondness when I was, a bigger fan of them, and so yeah, it's not fun at all to spend a lot of time talking about why you don't like something when there's so much good stuff.
Yeah, agreed. But it's also hard to really. It's hard to really. I don't know. Like in order to talk about something, you have to spend time with it. And when I don't like something, I like to spend a minimal amount of time with it. But there are certain situations like that where because you really because I really like Sleater-Kinney, that if they do something I don't like, I'm still going to devote some time to it just to make sure that I don't like it, because maybe something presents itself that changes your mind on it, changes your tune.
Right on, man. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on then. It's a very thoughtful discussion of negativity and widely listened to podcasting. So
Yeah. Okay, so I'm at a place where maybe if you want to start on your songs, you could
it's
do
tough.
that now.
It's tough because you've got so many cool tracks, and a lot of them, I haven't heard about a lot of them. Uh, so just to stay on your list for a second. Okay, I've heard some of these. I really like that new. Well, I'll leave that to you to discuss. But what's the deal with "Stay in the Car"?
Well, I mean, we got to get to that later. That's on my albums list, so
Oh, I
that's
see. Okay, yeah,
that's coming toward
let's
the end.
let's table that, dude.
See,
Okay.
now we just gave that one away, but anyhow,
Yeah, teaser. Um, yeah, so going back to my list, we've only talked about that Donovan track, really. Um, in terms of singles, I really like this new single from Billie Eilish, which is called "Lost Cause." Um,
it's not a Beck cover.
no, no, I mean, I think you could make a multi-disc compilation of songs called "Lost Cause." That could be a show. But yeah, kind of a neat, sophisticated step forward for Billie Eilish. Not that she needs to step forward. I thought her album from a couple years ago was really cool. In kind of the Spotify, front loaded kind of way. But yeah, this is a really solid tune, and yeah, I like intelligent lyrics mixed with great production and real feeling, and she's doing that. So I really like, yeah, really cool track. Okay, okay. Uh, so what else we got? Speaking of super popular songs, like we are talking about with Donovan, everything is going back to Donovan this week. Um, really popular songs that are really good. I've got one for you called "Driver's License" by Olivia Rodrigo. Um, and it's from an album called Sour. I haven't really been able to get into the album that much, but I guess this single or this tune is, I guess, everywhere with teens and such who I don't really have a lot of contact with. So that's fine. But I think it's a great song, and she writes her own stuff and is doing some kind of you know putting out some great music where she could easily skate by because she's, I think, a Disney teen star or something. Um, Yeah, nice breakup song about driving in a town, feeling sad late at night. Definitely check that out. What other singles do I have? Ant Repellent by Guided by Voices from Earthman Blues. We just did a Guided by Voices show
Yeah,
a
a
few
lot
weeks
of
ago,
fun.
and yeah, that was great. Really enjoyed diving back into that band, and uh, their new album is called Earthman Blues. And unfortunately, like a lot of their newer things, I can maybe connect with a handful of tracks on this album. Um, but one that I thought was really fun and really got me back into the those days when I was obsessive of this band was called Ant Repellent, which doesn't sound like it should be good or interesting, but it is in kind of pop art way. Definitely encourage everyone to check that out.
Yeah, for a Robert Pollard title, Ant Repellent is
Kind of pedestrian, right?
it's yeah, it's kind of pedestrian. It's still sort of I mean, it's still unusual. Ant Repellent isn't like just a title you're going to see on any, but for Robert Pollard you expect like some kind of mishmash of one thing, just an aside here, that this made me think, the Robert Pollard titles made me think of. Uh, uh, so well, I guess when we're in college, like I used to always make mix CDs and kind of cover or come up with my own title for the mix,
Uh-huh.
but wanted to sound something like what the artist would name it, maybe. And I called the Guided by Voices one "Primitive Radio Patterns" because I
Nice.
I just felt like that would be like the Robert Pollard song title that we haven't heard of yet.
Well, let me see if the Guided by Voices song title generator is still online.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's so old that I think it's hosted on tripod.com. So, okay, stand by. I've got it. The new Guided by Voices single, according to the GBV song title generator, is called Obedient Jelly Construction Paradigm.
There you go.
Do you want another one? Do you want one more?
Yeah,
Okay.
we could do a whole show of this.
Yeah, okay. Well, the next new fictional Guided by Voices song title is Steel Galloping Happening Irradium.
That's a bit much, I would say.
Steel Galloping Happening Habit.
Yeah, that's almost too much, I think.
Yeah, it can quickly descend into parody, but occasionally it's kind of brilliant.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the title "Ant Repellent" just needs like one more thing, I think. One more
one more like non sequitur
yeah, like an
word.
adjective.
Yeah,
What kind of ant repellent is it?
I think
Is
like
it,
ant repellent librarian or priest or something like that would
or
be.
self-degrading ant repellent.
I feel like sometimes Bob Pollard calls up Robin Hitchcock and he's like, "Dude, I've written this song. I've written 10 songs, but I'm struggling with the name." And they help each other out.
Or maybe Pollard has a Robin Hitchcock song title generator.
I think they have just like a red telephone on their on their respective writing desks that links them directly, like in
The
Doctor
Hitchcock line.
Strangelove. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So maybe I just haven't figured out this album, Earthman Blues, or maybe it's just kind of I'm not as in sync with the band as I used to be. But yeah, definitely some really cool tracks. Other singles, I've got, I guess, two more, and then maybe like two albums to talk about. Um, Serotonin by Girl in Red, another kind of like really well produced, interesting tune that a lot of youngsters are listening to. But production's great, writing's really interesting, talking about real stuff. I really like it. And then kind of the other end of things, in terms of tunes that guys in their 40s probably listen to predominantly. We've got a new single from the Rose City Band, which is called In the Rain. Kind of got hip to this group from, or I did get hip to this group from my buddy Larry, who is the only other one of the only other people I know that I can talk to about the Grateful Dead. So there's some sort of overlap there. It's pretty mellow, but really pretty and really interesting. And then in terms of other singles, I haven't really figured out this new St. Vincent record, but I do like a lot of the tracks on them on the record. One that I like in particular is called Down, which is, it's rockin', it's well produced, almost has like a quotation of So era Peter Gabriel in a way. Even though this is supposed to be kind of her 70s rock album. Really cool. So those are all the singles I have. I have a couple albums to talk about, but I think I should hand it back to you to hear more about you
Okay.
and your musical picks.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back. We'll trade back in a moment. Okay, so one song that's on my list twice is a song called "We Should Be Together," which I tried really hard to find out who wrote this, but basically when it was first released, it was released by The Wedding Present along with Louise Wenner from the band Sleeper, so a collaboration between them. So I'm thinking it originated with The Wedding Present, and then she collaborated on, or maybe they just collaborated in writing it. But it's a really cool song. Kind of Smiths like, and I maybe even prefer the Sleeper version a little bit more. I really like, it's just a great song, and both versions are great. But I think I kind of like the Sleeper version a little bit more.
Can I just interrupt you to
Yeah.
give a shout out to my buddy Rand Hawkins?
Okay.
Uh, I think you and Rand would be like instant buddies, but he's kind of my hero in that, working kind of the uh, somewhat demanding city job, but also seeing like, I think I've you know been around him when he's been like, oh yeah, I've been to shows like the past 4 nights, during the weekday, and he's a huge Wedding Present fan. So I kind of sort of knew Wedding Present from college, but he, really, I've heard a lot about them and gone to see them with Rand. So yeah, I love how friends can kind of push other friends into reevaluating or appreciating groups. So Rand
Yeah.
Hawkins, keep on rocking.
Yeah, and for those not familiar with The Wedding Present, a great band from Scotland, um, and Sleeper, a great band from London.
And go see them. Like Wedding Present tour all the time. I think I've passed up. I've seen them once in San Francisco at the chapel, but if I were to have seen them every time they come through, I would have seen Wedding Present like 7 times in 5 years.
Yeah, might be. Excuse me. It might be more in your neck of the woods though, because definitely not where I'm at. Like they're definitely not touring here, but I don't recall having many opportunities to see them in Chicago though either.
Yeah, go check them out if you have the chance. A really fun show, and I like when you kind of know a band, but you don't know their discography by ear. But yeah, really great show. Lots of deep cuts. Help out help out musicians of the world by seeing a bunch of concerts this year, everybody.
Yeah, hopefully. And being in Iowa, it's tough. It was so great in Chicago. That's one thing I really miss about Chicago.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to California. Plenty of room out here.
Someday soon, it will happen. Okay, the next song on my list, from the new Dinosaur Jr. album, "Sleep Into Space," which it's an all right Dinosaur Jr. album, but features an absolutely great Lou Barlow track called Garden. Definitely my favorite Lou track in a very long time. It's I think like an all-timer Lou track for me. Really good. And Sweeping the Space is a good album, but I would say Garden is a great track from a good Dinosaur Jr. album. The band Tons, which we've talked about, I think
Yeah,
maybe at
yeah.
the same time that we talked about Lana Del Rey. Tons, a Canadian supergroup featuring Chris Murphy of Sloan and Matt Murphy, not related, of the band Super Friends and the Flashing Lights. Great, and then I always forget who the third person is in Tons. There are three. It's a three-person band, and I always forget who the third person is. I apologize for that, but really good and almost made my albums list. But
Almost.
the song Double Down is what I pulled for my songs list. And then the final one that just on as a song, but again another album that almost made it. Um, the Hold Steady with Heavy Covenant from the album Open Door Policy. My favorite Hold Steady album in quite a long time, and great track, and almost well, if this was a top 10 list, then it makes my albums list. So look at it that way.
I
It's one
loved
of
all
my
these
top 10
songs. Yeah,
albums.
thank you for putting those together. Aside from Tons, which you clued me into a little while ago, I don't think I would have heard either of those tunes. So, thank you.
Sure.
What else you got?
Yeah. Well, the rest are albums, so I don't know if you want to do your albums before.
Yeah, I'll jump over there. Sure.
Okay.
Speaking of seeing live shows, there's a period of time probably from I don't know, like 2016 to 2019 when you'd out here you'd end up at a show, you know, at the chapel or at the Fox in Oakland, and like, oh well, Japanese Breakfast is opening, and you go to another show, like Bell and Sebastian or something. It's like, oh, who's opening? Oh, Japanese Breakfast is opening. So one of these bands that I think I ended up seeing 3 times in not a lot of space, maybe like one time deliberately, um, and really cool band. Well written pop tunes, fronted by Michelle Zauner, who I guess is uh, picking up a lot of heat for in a good way for her memoir, which is called "Crying at H Mart," which I'd love to read. Um, and Japanese Breakfast, just like this bouncy, interesting indie band with great keyboard layers and so Sean, as we discuss often, this is one of those things where I've already incurred my left of the dial toll for the week, where I was trying to put together this list and was really getting into this album. It's like, oh, I got to buy this album. So uh, definitely the mark of a cool LP when you know that you have to order it directly from the band on vinyl. So definitely check that out. The album is called Jubilee, which I think is their second full length. They have a lot of EPs and concert only tapes and stuff. So it gets a little confusing for this guy. Another album that I've been jamming on and it's really growing on me. I haven't figured it out yet. The album is called Afrique Victime by Madhu Mokhtar. Um, Madhu Mokhtar is the leader of this band. They are Tuareg, which is a region of the Sahara that spans quite a bit of the African continent, including Mali and Libya. Um, so yeah, oh wow, hard to really describe what this is. I think a lot of people would kind of call it like West African blues, uh, but it's really interesting, and you can hear kind of uh, African traditional music transposed onto, you know, loud electric guitars and kind of blues structures. So yeah, definitely love this band. Want to check them out. I think they're playing a couple dates here in the Bay Area. And what else do I have on my list? So yeah, if you like Ali Farka Toure, you'll probably enjoy this Madhu Mokhtar jam. And then yeah, I think that's pretty much my entire list. Like I said, I think that a lot of the deluge of cool albums will be probably in the second half of 2021 once people get their feet under them for touring again. But yeah, as Sean has demonstrated, there's a lot of stuff that I have no clue about because I'm not as dialed in as this guy.
Well, I honestly have, felt like it was tough this year too. But like I can always come up with, I guess, this many, but it wasn't a year where everything was bursting at the seams. It didn't seem. But I mean, I would say for me as well, it seems like it's a bit of a down year, but still plenty of good stuff because I think just on any given year there should be. So heading into my albums now, Julian Baker, who is from Tennessee, from the Memphis area, had a great, like, it's her sophomore album, and it's great, called Faith Healer, and I have the title track from that on my playlist, but it's on my albums list. And I guess if you don't know her, she is one third of the super group, I guess you would say, with called Boy Genius, with Phoebe Bridgers and Lucy Dacus. And Lucy Dacus also is on my top albums list, with the album Home Video. VBS, which stands for Vacation Bible School, is the track that I pulled from that
I
for
was going to
my
ask you about that.
playlist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you hear the track, then you'll know.
Yeah, I heard the track, and yeah, you know,
I don't think she says that that's what it's, but I knew that that's what it what
is that a
that's what it stood for.
popular term?
So, um, yeah, I suppose so. I don't know how much it's still a thing, but yeah, that's basically what that is like in the summer, when you're on summer vacation. It's kind of this churchy thing that you get sent to as a kid. So it's like, this album is very autobiographical, and this is her bit about Vacation Bible School.
I love this track, and yeah, Boy Genius is great, and anyone involved in that group is just, you know, they're tops in my book.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those three. And the interesting thing is, I like them all individually from that. Like, I didn't even know that there was a thing that they did together until not that long ago.
Yeah,
But like them all individually, so it's kind of cool that they all
they're pals.
collaborated on
Yeah,
that.
right on.
Yeah, it's nice to see that. Speaking of collaborations, another collaboration, which is called Bachelor, which is a collaboration between Jay Som, who his real name is Melina Duterte, and
Oakland represent.
yeah, that's right, and Ellen Kempner, who is known as Pale Hound. And a really cool collaboration here. A lot of tracks that I think are so infectious. Um, really kind of takes one of those things that kind of takes me back to the 90s a bit. Just really, really infectious tracks. Really cool. Really good collaboration. And then number 3 on my list, the album On All Fours from Goat Girl, the second album by Goat Girl. The first album was more guitar heavy. This one sounds a bit more like it's Stereo Lab influenced.
Oh yeah.
Both are very good. I would say maybe both are equally good or almost, but if one has the edge, I would say it's On All Fours, and it's number 3 on my albums list. Number 2, the third album from Wolf Alice, called Blue Weekend. Wolf Alice always good, and Blue Weekend, I don't have it ranked on against their other albums, but it's great, one of the best so far this year, and an album that has a lot of great songs with a lot of goes in a lot of different directions, but cohesive at the same time. And then my number 1 album of the year is Daddy's Home by St. Vincent, which we've talked about a little bit already.
Yeah.
Really cool, glammy. St. Vincent explores like a lot of 70s stuff, glammy stuff, Stevie Wonder, just a lot of great stuff. The track that is my favorite, and I think my favorite track of the year, is called "Live in the Dream," which is very, very Pink Floydish. Really cool, really hypnotic. Yeah, I mean, rather than listen to me describe it, just go listen to it. Listen to the whole album. The whole album's great. Living the Dream, really cool. One of my favorite, probably my favorite song of the year.
All right. Yeah, I haven't really figured this album out yet, but I like the vibe, everything from the font to um Annie's kind of new look. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
and
if
Annie
you're gonna
Clark, in
yeah.
case people don't know.
Yeah, and if you're gonna
And
mine anything to pay homage to, New York 70s rock or, kind of your interpretation or memory of glam is a good place to go. Especially if you can shred on guitar like she can. So right on.
yeah, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where things stand at the end of the year. I think this will still be high on my list at the end of the year,
Yeah, yeah.
as are the other ones too. I think they're worthy.
Were you at
But
that show at Gabe's Oasis where she opened for John Vanderslice?
no,
Oh, okay.
would have been cool, but no.
Oh, wait, I'm thinking of Doug Fir in Portland.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be a bit of a jaunt for me.
Yeah, yeah. It was cool. Yeah, wow, good picks. I think I went into this exercise feeling like a little bit more negative than I normally am. And I've emerged on the other side knowing a lot of cool albums that have come out this year that I just didn't know about. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah. I hope
I,
the same is true for you, our listeners.
I thought you were saying to me, it's like I wasn't that down on it.
Yeah, you're a very positive person. You're a good influence.
I have to be if I get to the point where I'm not finding new stuff, like I spend a lot of time listening to old stuff, but if I don't continue to find new stuff, it's I don't know, it's gonna be a dark day.
Yeah. Wow. Let's not have that happen, right?
Let's not. Let's avoid that.
Wow. This was so much fun. I love, jumping into unfamiliar stuff. And sometimes it's hard, for me, it's easy to, I don't know, like listen to a lot of Duke Ellington and not really get out of my comfort zone. But yeah, you've really given me some homework, lots of bands to check out.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff out there. Like I said, I don't think this has been a standout year or anything, at least so far. But still plenty of great stuff out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if this year is anything like the live concert schedule, which is, just snowballing right now. I think it's going to be huge this year and next year, especially when people start writing about what they went through this, in this last year and a half. And I think we're hearing some of that, but I think someone's going to make like the great album about all the the torture and travails of this pandemic and how hard it was and how many people we lost. And so yeah, I think there's some great albums just waiting right around the corner. And like I said, bands are starting to tour again. So many bands are touring right now. It's hard to keep up with my concert ticket drawer and the calendar. So and they've been being a musician, you make a lot of your money from a live show. So I know it may be a Wednesday or a Tuesday or something, but think about that when you look at your upcoming concert calendar in whatever city you may reside in, and just go for it. Go see a band that you love on a Tuesday, even though you have to work the next day.
Yeah, it's great advice. I don't know if I'll be like living where I live. I won't have as many opportunities, but if I did, I would be taking advantage.
Well, whatever you got, do your best. And I think a lot of people, myself included, take music for granted sometimes. But you can't put out cool records. You can't, put things on Spotify without, making a living at it. So yeah, support these musicians. Go see a rock show.
Good advice. So yeah, 2021 so far. We will check back in on this. Maybe a couple of times. Before the end of the year to see where things stand.
Right on, man. Let's do this again later in the year. And yeah, thanks for these picks. And as always, it's great to hang out with you in Left of the Dial podcast land, where everything is about music. And stay tuned for next week, where we have a mystery topic.
That's right. The great mystery will be solved when we reconvene a week from today.
That's right. All will be revealed.
That's right. In the words of Robert Plant.
Okay. Great. Well, Sean, always a pleasure. I'll see you when I see you.
I'll see you when I see you next week.